Conversations and Opinions. Today we are going to be talking about the mind, body, and soul. And we have some guests with us. We have Quay, we have Michael, and we have Hakim, Kenyatta, and Zelda.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, guest.
Hi.
Peace, peace.
Thank you
Brother
guys
Mike
so
is
much.
like, he's ready to get started like last time.
Yeah.
Brother Mike,
He is ready.
And I did my iPad so I won't be buffering.
That's what I did too, Mike.
But we want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, like I said, some of you guys are new and some have been on our show before, but we appreciate you guys joining us. And we're just going to open it up with some discussions about, we're talking about mental health, spiritual, the health of your body, your hair, everything. So we got a little bit of everything
Nails,
today.
skin. So
Shay, I know you have someone that you recently went to regarding your hair, and she gave you a whole lot of information, and she's joining us today. And by the way, Kenyatta, my son will be using your product shortly.
All right, I'm excited.
Yes, I went to my new hairdresser, Miss Kenyatta Nicole, and she was awesome. She gave me so much information just about all things health. So I was like, yo, you got to come on this episode and talk to us, teach us, school us.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. I'm so honored. I love to do this type of stuff, and I just love to educate my clients because a lot of times that we don't realize healthy hair starts from the inside. So if you it's not just your hair, it's your skin, it's everything. Our bodies are just like, the trees and the plants and things like that. If we're not properly hydrating, if we're not properly fertilizing it, then guess what? The trees are going to die or your plants are going to die. So our bodies are just like that. Like we have to watch what we're eating. We have to watch what we're using on our skin and our bodies and things like that. If we want healthy hair, healthy skin, healthy nails. Because I remember a time when I recently lost 70 some pounds, but I remember when I was putting thank you. So when I was putting the things that I'm not supposed to eat in my body, on my skin, you can tell it was really bad, breaking out. Where my friends, they was like, girl, what's going on with you? I'm like, I'm doing stuff that I'm supposed to be doing. So it's the same thing with our hair as well. A lot of us are allergic to glue. We don't even realize that. So if you're allergic to glue, it's going to show on your scalp, it's going to show on your skin. So we just have to be mindful of the things that we're putting in our body if we want overall health. And it's not just our outer appearance, but it's the inside as well.
Right.
Part of this conversation.
so Kenyatta, you talked about losing 70 pounds. What was the catalyst that made you start that journey? Did you run into a health issue? Did you notice you wanted something different than what you had going on? Tell us how you got to the place where you decided to start to strip your diet down and go on your weight loss journey for health.
Yeah, so I have I guess all my life I have dealt with weight. As far as I can remember, I just remember going to my grandmama's house, and I'm from Chicago too. I know my neighbor tell me y'all from Chicago. So my grandmother, she would cook cornbread and molasses syrup. So I just remember from that always having a healthy, so I always try to get some things. And so within the last year, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get serious. This is something that's important to me. My high blood pressure, diabetes, all of that in my family. Thank God I did not do any of that. That was one of my things. Why I always try to watch my health, because I didn't want to have that. And I have cousins that's my age that has the high blood pressure and diabetes, and I was like, I'm not gonna, that is not gonna be my life. So I'm gonna do what I need to do, and I'm gonna do what's best for me. And so I just really buckled down. started keto, watching what I eat, exercising more, and just being like really self-conscious of the things that and I have my days, I ain't gonna lie, I have my days that I'm not as super strict, but I had to tell myself, like, if I want something different, I need to be the change and I need to do what I need to do in order to have different results. So I just really like buckle down and, did the necessary things that I had to do to get me to where I'm at right now.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
And congratulations on that weight loss. 'Cause,
Yes.
we know that it's
hard.
hard work.
It's hard. It is
So
not easy.
congratulations. And Quay, I know you're driving, so I want to get you just in case you have to go. But how is mental health and spiritual health connected in your own words? Because I know you can help us out over here.
You know something? This is such a sensitive area, mental health and spiritual health. Here's my take on it. First, I want to say that we are made up of three components. We're spirit, we're soul, and we're body. And the body is just a byproduct of what's happening in your spirit and your soul. That's the way we can distinctively tell what's going on with a person by what their outward appearance is like. Now, I'm going to use this as an example because I think we all can relate, and those that can't, this is a good visual. When a person smokes weed, that is something, if you've seen the look of it, you know that they smoke. I'm talking about avid smokers. I'm not talking about for medicinal purposes or every now and then or socially. If you notice, the person that smokes weed, their whole contents change. Their face, their lips get darker, everything about them. They move a little slower, they think slower, they talk slower. If you know, strictly a byproduct of what's happening on the inside. Now, we all know that cannabis is from the earth, using it in great ways. However, when you overdo.
Okay, well, we can ask Mike. Mike, can you give us a little insight on the mental health and how your journey has been and ways that, has helped you overcome any obstacles you've been through?
Yes. First, I want to say, riding off what Quay said, the spirit, the soul, and the body. If you know anything about psychology or the psyche, when you're dealing with the soul, psyche means soul also. So mind, body, and soul are all one. You can't have one without the other. And so mental health, there's this thing called psychosomatics. Whatever going on in your mind can cause an effect in your body. And so someone that suffers from a mental illness doesn't even know. I didn't even know I had a mental illness. I just thought, hey, this is me. And so once I got a diagnosis, then I knew what I was dealing with. And so once I got a diagnosis, I've been in what they call the mental ward twice with the military VA program. So I went into the mental ward and went through talking to therapists, seeing doctors, the medication and everything. But it was only after I realized, hey, I'm diagnosed with major depressive disorder, non-combative post-traumatic stress disorder from the military. Then me personally, I had a strong will and desire to make corrections to who I am as a person. I'm really into self-improvement. And so when I realized what was going on, I started studying my situation, my circumstance, my diagnosis. And one thing I learned when it comes to a mental illness, there's no such thing as a cure. You got to create coping skills. So I started learning my triggers. I started learning coping skills, place myself in the right environment, noticing when things starting to trigger me and getting out of there. So it's a constant thing where you have to constantly keep checking yourself. You got to constantly keep making sure you good on a mental, because like I say, whatever's going on in the mind going to affect you spiritually. I don't care how spiritual, what church, mosque, how much incense and sage or nothing you burn. If you're not focused here, or that is not worth it, because soon as, like, if I get depressed, Brother Hakim will call you. I call him like, yo, I need a rant. I need to get this out. So I got a strong support system, a strong support team, family, friends, and everything that I deal with. So when I'm faced with something, I'll give you a perfect example. I went to a meeting the other day, and while I was in the meeting, people started yelling across the room, and I'm going, it's time to go. So I had to get up and lead the meeting because I started feeling paranoid. So all symptoms and stuff started kicking in there. I was getting triggered. So I had to remove myself from that environment. And so I learned everything that triggers me, and so now I can go. I start feeling a certain way. Now it's time for me to do this. Time for me to set boundaries and everything. So once a person that suffers from a mental illness understand their diagnosis, what they're going through, and start learning and studying how to respond to situations, circumstances that trigger them. This is why on the last show I said if Will Smith had a mental illness, then we can't personally hold him accountable because we don't know what triggered him. And I seek therapy. Black men don't go to therapy, but I go to therapy. Sometimes I call my case manager up. Look, this is what happened. I need somebody to talk to. I text them. Look, call me tomorrow because I'm going through something. And so that's what we have to realize. Therapy ain't bad. It's something good to go to. It's having somebody that's educated in that field. We'll go to our homeboy and our homegirl, and they be like, you just crazy as hell. Girl,
Right.
So I have a question for Mike. Just like when we asked Kenyatta about what was the catalyst that pushed her to seek help or to start a new journey, what happened with you? You said in your words, you said you ended up in the mental ward twice. Did you check yourself in, or did somebody advise that you go? How did you get to the place where you knew that you needed to get somewhere for help?
Something happened to me where I started hallucinating, hearing voices, to the point where my blood pressure was going so high that I was blanking out. My body was shut down. And so my mother and my brother and them, they snatched me up that day and checked me in. So it was involuntary.
Mm-hmm.
So, but once I got in there and everything, I had, like I said, strong support team. Brother Hakim came to visit. Other people were calling and visiting. And so once I got a grip on this is what's going on with me, then I was able to say, okay, it's time for me hold myself accountable, learn what's going on, and then make it happen.
Thank you for sharing that. As just because not to be nosy, but just because other people listening may have similar things that your testimony may lead to somebody understanding what their next step could possibly be to seeking relief from something. So thank you for being so transparent and sharing your testimony.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for that. I do have a question, Mike. So you had support, right? You had support that actually landed you in a place where you got help. But so those people who may not have that support, do you have any like resolution for them, or you know any like type of places they can call if they did need help? Are you aware of any of those things?
Well, everybody usually is in a different area. If you're a military vet, they have crisis hotlines, or your local VA or Veterans Affairs. You can contact them. Go to any hospital. If you go in and check yourself in dealing with mental illness, they should have resources where you can contact. With the internet now, see, this is one thing I say. If you can't change the people around you, you change the people around you. If the people I'm around are not qualified to help me in my time of need, and I can't help them in their time of need, especially mentally and spiritually, those are not people that I feel I need to be around. So anybody that's watching, study the people you're around, because you don't know. we all suffer from some form of mental illness.
Right.
Some of us just got a diagnosis and know what we suffer from. If you saw my list, Brother Hakim can tell you, he's seen the list. If you saw my list, you'd be like, oh man, how do you make it from day to day? You know? And then, like I said, I'm spiritually connected. You know, I study, you know, you gotta have something to hold on to. I remember when what's the little fidget spinners came out? Yeah, I had one of them. I used to have the rubber band on so when I'm going through I would be in a restaurant and it get crowded and I start going, oh, it's time to go. I can't deal with a crowd. And I start popping the rubber band. Then I got the little fridge and I was spinning that. And I know people like, this grown ass man in the restaurant with a damn fidget spinner. But it worked. It works.
Yeah, that's what they were created for. They were created to minimize anxiety and reduce that type of feeling in overwhelming situations.
Mike, I know you spoke about the military, right? And
yes.
I've never been in the military. And I just am very adamant about how they treat our veterans. And in my mind, when you spoke about going to the Veterans Hospital, do you think they do enough for you all, given that you served us, you went to war for us? So my question is a two-part. A, did you realize that you had something mentally wrong before, after, or during? And then once you came out, is the military sufficient, or did you have to seek outside?
In the military, I was a military police correctional officer in the United States Army. I worked at the largest military correction facility and prison in the United States called the USDB, United States Disciplinary Barracks. I went in right after high school. And so imagine a 18-year-old kid going to work at the largest military prison in the United States, where you got special forces, Navy SEALs, all aspects of the Army. If somebody messed up, no matter what they trained, they went to Fort Leavenworth. I went there as an 18-year-old kid. And so dealing with grown men, dealing with the military itself and everything, there was things that I saw. It's a prison. There's things that was going on, being threats and all this stuff that was going on. While you're going through, you're a product of the environment. I tell anybody, even somebody that works in correction, if you do a 2 12-hour shift, you spend a day in prison yourself. You just get to go home. But you'll become an inmate because you're taking on a certain environment breeds similarity. So, but as I was going through and everything, no, I wasn't thinking mental health or anything like that. It was a job. I was a soldier. But when I got out, I didn't want nothing else to do with the military. You know? And so I took my duffel bag to a dumpster and threw it in the dumpster, and I was on my merry way. And I got out like 87, from 84 to like 87. I didn't start getting affected to where my mental illness was to the extreme until like 2009. I'd never been to a military hospital, veterans hospital, nothing, until I started going through the episodes that I was going through. But once I got there, there's a program that I'm a part of called the MECM program, and they deal with mental health. And you have to qualify to be in this program. And so I qualified to be in the program. I can't speak for no other veterans. I've been in the veteran peer group. You got some veterans that does what they supposed to do, and then you got some they all about, hey, I'm just trying to get a check. I'm in here to get a check. You know what I'm saying? I got to do this, da. And so you got those who don't cooperate, don't follow the program, don't follow procedures. And those usually the ones you hear go, the VA don't do this, the VA don't do that. No, the VA gonna do what you allow them to do. I see my therapist every 3 months, a social worker or a nurse come at least once a week, or we have a video conference call. And so for me, they have helped me tremendously. So I can only speak for me as far as that, as far as the whole process of getting my disability and everything. The company that I'm under called Meckham Program. So any veterans, it's a program called the Meckham Program. If you've been in the mental ward more than twice, you can contact them and they'll get you into the program. Matter of fact, I just talked to a mother of a young brother that's 30 years old that she had to force him into treatment, and I contact the Meckham Program, and they gave me the information to send to the mother. And so now I told her to keep me posted on what's going on with her son, so it can be part of a peer group type thing. But a lot of times veterans don't talk to nobody but veterans when they're going through something.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. I just was curious.
Thank
And
you
again,
so
thank you for your service. If I've never said it, I'm saying it now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Zelda, just we've been talking about like the spiritual portion and mental. How does the medical field overall think about like the health in general? So just overall health. If you can just talk on that for us.
Like I said before, this is a disclaimer that I am not in place of your doctor, your nurse, is what you already know. First of all, I think that most of the time, we as people of color, not just Black people, don't trust so much in the healthcare. So we go to the doctor, we look for the help, and we don't basically do what the health has told us to do. I don't believe that anything that we do is necessarily the best from the doctor, but you have to be your own advocate. You have to research yourself. If you can't remember well because of white coat syndrome, anxiety, when you go in there, you should bring another set of ears so that they can hear. Because sometimes the doctors don't know anything. If you have more than one physician and each physician is not communicating with each other, you can get mixed medication. You don't have, every facility does not have all the services that you need. So sometimes you need to seek outside of what you already know. Sometimes it can be holistic, sometimes it can be naturopath, but you have to be your own advocate and know exactly what it is you're looking for from healthcare, because they're going to give you the bare minimum.
So you just mentioned being your own advocate. How does one, if you don't feel like you know how to be your own advocate, how do you ask for help in that area? Are there caseworkers or case managers in place that can assist you on or advise you on how to be a better advocate for yourself?
A lot of that depends on area where you're located. If you're in a poor area, there are more financial assistance, but not a lot of mental assistance. And that makes it very hard because all they're doing is helping you get all the stuff that you're being given without being actually getting the mental part of it that you need. So part of that means that you need to actually ask for the help yourself. A lot of people go into the doctor's office and whatever he says is the answer. Nobody ever just stands there and questions it. They don't say, well, this medication, what exactly is it doing for me? Medical literacy is very low in this country. You can have a master's degree and still don't know medical literacy. And you know that the blue pill is for this and the red pill is for that. But you don't truly understand or know what you're taking and why you're taking it, and won't ask the physician, because a lot of people believe that if you're educated enough, you should be able to know it, and you don't. And if you're not literate at all, you just take somebody else's word. So it's kind of hard to say how to advocate for yourself if you don't have help in the home first.
Okay, that's really good to know. And I have just one other question on that subject. As people, like you said, people of color have issues trusting medical professionals, or even receiving medication. Sometimes we get prescribed something and we leave and say, "Oh, I don't know, I don't know what they gave me. I'm not taking that mess," or something like that. How do we, as people, approach our medical professionals without being offensive, when we have questions? Because I know multiple people experience feeling like their doctor is treating them with kind of like the in and out, like, okay, I got to get to the next room. Here's your stuff. Keep it moving. All right, I got to go. How do we as people advocate for ourselves without frustrating the medical professionals that are working with us? Or how do we effectively seek a second opinion, and respectfully seek a second opinion without throwing our course of action off track?
Some of the things that you can do, and one of the biggest people that can help with medicine is the pharmacist. Many times you can go into the pharmacy and the pharmacist will say, "Do you have any questions?" And people will say no and walk away. That's not the right thing to do, number one. Number two, how you would advocate for yourself is, instead of and what a lot of us do, you start taking the medication, it doesn't work for you, you get sick, you get start throwing up, you have a rash, and instead of calling the physician back, they'll just stop taking it because they already don't even know why they're taking it in the beginning. So that's a hard place. And if you don't have a resource in the physician's office that you can go to and make yourself comfortable with, because a lot of people go to different doctors for different things, and that makes it also very hard. It used to be you went to one doctor and he took care of everything. Now everything is a specialty. If you have cardiac disease, you go to the heart doctor. If you have diabetes, you might go to an endocrinologist, because a lot of times some of the general practitioners cannot even dose your insulin correctly, and now you're not even taking it correctly. And it's a whole series of things that go along with it. There's a lot of teaching that goes on with diabetes and heart disease, which is huge for the non-white race.
Thank you for sharing that. I know we all appreciate that, because we can pass that information along to ourselves and people in our network. So thank you for that.
Yes, good information.
Thank you.
Yeah, I brought everybody.
I have one question for Zelda. You talked about how we used to have one doctor for everything, but you are right. Everything is a specialty, because I'm dealing with cluster headaches, which I knew nothing about. So Veronica told me about it, and I had to get lidocaine shot in my head or whatever, but it's not working. But I'm saying all that to say this. So my general practitioner, when I first initially went to her, I thought it was allergy. So in the medical field, are there not doctors who are all around doctors, or it's just the way the health industry is now? Everything is a specialty. And if so, how do we make sure that when we go, we should ask for A, B, C, D, E, you know what I'm saying? Once you see your general practitioner. Look how, what's her name is shaking her head in the car. But go ahead.
One of the things that I find is helpful is to have an internal medicine internist. What they do is they look at the whole person. A general practitioner will see your child and see you, and there's no pinpointing what is adult bad, and what is pediatric bad. You don't look at the whole person. And the thing is, they are not specialized in anything. They're just generalized in everything. So sometimes you have to do some research on your own. One of the places I tend to go is Medscape, and I go to another one that's called Lexicon. And what I usually
Yeah, her phone's breaking up.
That was great information. We will be sure to link the websites that she mentioned in the comments, so everybody can go and check those resources out for themselves. So that was good. We appreciate her for that insight from the inside.
Right.
Yes.
Right, but just so I'm clear, she did say there's a difference between internal and general.
Yes, she said an
Okay.
internal medicine doctor will see anybody and everybody. They'll see children, they'll see adults, and they look at the whole body versus just that specific whatever field of study the other people are in. So yes.
Okay.
And Quay, I know
You
we
bet,
lost you. We lost you earlier, but if you can just continue to let us know about the question when we were speaking on how spiritual and mental health is connected.
Yes. So I was just saying that the body is a byproduct of what's going on in the spirit. So if a person is, and I use the marijuana use as a visual so you can kind of understand what I was saying. Clearly, you can tell a person that smokes a lot because their body appearance changes. And so when we're talking about spiritual affecting the mental, when things are going on within our emotions, which is the soul is the seat of our emotion, our mind, our will, our intellect, the soul. When there's something going on in there, it's going to show on the outside. When a person is upset, what's happening in the body? Your heart begins to race, shortness of breath, your voice raises. All these things are happening on the inside, but it's manifesting from the body. The body always tells. When there's something wrong with your kidneys, you can tell from your, the eyes. When there's something wrong with your liver, you can tell from the eyes. That's inside working, letting you know something on the inside is not working. The body is that signal. And when we're talking about mental health, and this is such a prevalent conversation, guys, I'm telling you, this is very important that we have these conversations, especially in the Black community. My children, all three of them have mental health issues. My daughter is, she has a form of ADHD. When she's not well, I instantly know something's not right because there are a lot of things that she manifests in her body that I know that the mental and the spiritual is out of whack. So she forgets a lot. She starts things, doesn't finish them. Everything's incomplete. Her room is a disaster. This is all out external. But I know now I have to have a conversation because internally something's happening with you. So we've been having to have a lot of conversation because in her spirit is chaotic. Her thoughts are racy. Everything's over. I know when it's really exacting itself in her body, when her room looks a mess, when she can't remember anything, she can't pull it together. And for those who, now this is only if you believe this, in the Christian culture, spirits can attach to people, right? This is only if you believe this. This is not for everybody. But in the Christian culture, we believe that spirits attach themselves to people. So when that happens, and that can happen, either you can open the doorway to a spirit attaching itself to you, or it can happen through the bloodline. It can happen through in utero, pregnancy. Spirits attach themselves. What happens in the spirit realm always manifests in the body. When a person is possessed demonically, and we all know, we've all seen people act erratic, out of control, out of order. That's spirit manifesting physically, mentally. Those two, they kind of go hand in hand. And I know the brother right there, he was talking about, was it bipolar disorder? Was it bipolar? I couldn't hear Mike. Was he talking about bipolar?
No, major depression, post-traumatic, non-combative post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay, got it. And even in that, a lot of times what happens is, but PTSD is a little different because that's experiential. But a lot of times what happens is, I asked God when I prayed, I said, God, how does a person who's a baby manifest a spirit, and they're so young. Like, how could they have opened themselves up to something? They don't know anything. They're little kids. They're young. And my answer from him was, it was passed through the mother. So when you think about having a life with a person, whatever is in you, once you have a baby, and I know many people really understand this personally, but when you have a baby, whatever's in you passes to them. Spirit, blood, all of that are transferences of you. It's spirit. It's not something you can touch. It's not tangible. But it is a very real and evident power. Then you wonder why when kids get a little older, they start doing things you used to do when you were kids, and they weren't there. They don't know that you used to lick the walls, but they're doing it. That's because that stuff is transferred. The spirit of a person is transferred to another person. When we're talking about mental health, especially like schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder, those kinds where they are really prevalent. We're talking, you're 6 different people in one body, and each person has a trigger, and not all of them present all at once. It depends on what's happening with the person. It's the person that's the nature of that person presenting. That's why I said this is a very sensitive subject, because you have to first believe in spirit realm in order to even have this conversation. You got to first understand that there is a spirit realm, and that realm is very real, and that you can see the production of a spirit realm in our physical world. Once you can believe that, and you can believe that you can transfer a spirit from one person to another. A spirit can be on you, or listen, when you get angry, that's not you. And if you notice, when you get upset, you act outside. That's why they say you're not going to pull me out of character, because you're acting outside of who you are. That is a spirit.
Okay. Quite, I have a question for you. So first of all, thank you for giving the 2 parts to your answer. For people who don't believe exactly how you believe, but do have children struggling with mental health, I want to shout you out for acknowledging your daughter's mental health, because in our community, a child who is acting erratically, room all over the place, forgetting things, we get a whooping for that in our community. We get in trouble for the room not being clean, you not listening, and things like that. So shout out to you as a mom for acknowledging that there's maybe internal factors that you can't see on your child that are affecting her ability to perform in certain.
Yes. And that's just really, and we got to really start facing that in the community.
Yeah.
And I really had to come to myself. I saw the signs when she was 6, but I just chalked it up to, she's still young, but when your child starts cutting, trying to commit suicide, running away from you, these are the things I'm dealing with now. So we really had to have a conversation around her mental health. And even with God, even if you don't believe in God, if you do believe in God, you still have to deal with this very real thing in whatever way you can, whether it's or medication, or for us Black people, a beating. I don't know. Whatever way, whatever resource you can, you need to use it, because this is a very real situation. And sometimes we can pray, and it does not feel like you're getting any relief. So this is whether you believe in God or not. This is just life, and us knowing how to use our resources to speak to the issues that we have in our households. And for me, definitely, I put her in front of TD Jakes one Sunday morning, and the whole message was about cutting yourself. And she had just gone through an episode where she was cutting herself. So for me, I'm definitely going in the way of the Christian culture for that, because I never talked to T.D. Jakes about my daughter's issue, but that same issue that she had just performed was on the Sunday service, and he was just speaking to that spirit, because that's a spirit in my Christian, culture. That's a spirit. And so she stood there and she cried and she cried and she cried. And at first she didn't want to get up. She didn't want to raise her hand. She didn't want, it was that thing fighting against her being free. Tormented by that thing. She can't function. And so I noticed that after she kind of got herself together after the service, she kind of changed a little bit, and the spirit kind of died down. It wasn't as strong. It didn't fight me as much. So I'm going to use any resource. If that's God, if that's a belt, if it's medication, if it's doctors, I got them all. I use it all. I take it she has a diagnosis, except for medication. I don't do medication because I don't believe that they have done enough research for our youth or even our community. That's just not for me. And I feel like there's other means by which we can work with her. She has a therapeutic mentor. She has counsel. We have in-home therapy, which is family counsel. So, there's a lot of things you can do before we get to medication. So I'm not really a proponent of medication, especially for young people, young Black kids. But definitely, spiritually, I'm praying. I'm getting oil. I'm doing all of that. Mentally, I got her a therapist. In her body, I'm sometimes knocking her out because sometimes it's not going to use this diagnosis as an excuse for why you didn't do what you were supposed to do. Because they'll do that. So to me, it's the full continuum. It's a continuum, a spectrum. You can't just talk to one thing. You have to do the spirit, you got to do the soul, and you got to do the body.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that information, because that's definitely going to help somebody. Because I know with kids, it's hard because you don't know what's going on. So thank you for that. And Hakim, can you help us out here with the body, the full body? How can we fix that?
Okay. Basically, you have to change what you've been taught as far as what you put into the body. You have to look at the body as a temple. Just piggybacking off of what everyone has already spoken on as far as the mental aspect and the spiritual aspect, and then you add in the temple into that, meaning the body. I look at all of that as being one, especially when you talk about the spirit and the mind. The spirit and the mental aspect. To me, that is the mind. And when you look at the mind, that's broken down into different compartments, which makes up the mind. The body is the vehicle that you use to express anything that is based on spirituality or a mental aspect. But in order for you to express that, you got to make sure that you're putting the right things into your body so that the body stays healthy enough for you to express whatever aspect of the mind that you're trying to convey to whoever it is you're trying to convey it to. So when it comes to the body doesn't care anything about chicken or an apple or an orange or rice. It is only concerned with what is in those particular items that you eat. So we're talking about nutrition. So when it comes to that, I think culturally, which is where all of these different diseases come from, if you're not born with a genetic anomaly, then 9 times out of 10, the illnesses that you're dealing with are cultural based. Meaning, if you're eating what we call the SAD, Standard American Diet, or if you want to get more technical with it, a European diet, then chances are whatever illnesses that your parents had or relatives had or have, you're going to come down with those illnesses. So what I like to do is tell people to move away from the Standard American Diet and start looking at your body from the aspect of what is supposed to go into it. You have what is called a herbivore, an omnivore, and you have a carnivore. Most people have been taught to basically be a carnivore, meaning they eat meat, and along with eating the meat, they bring in starches. Usually that's in the form of bread, and they consume very little vegetation. when you look at people of color, whether they're black, brown, yellow, or red people, we've always lived in tropical places. So when you look at that aspect of where we lived, there was food that was growing out of the ground, growing from bushes, growing off of trees, to where if you live in Florida, you can pretty much go outside. If you want a coconut, you can pretty much go to a coconut tree, pick it off the tree, take it in your house, break it open, eat the coconut meat or drink the juice that is in the coconut. So this is where it gets crazy at. Those same people will turn around and walk past the coconut tree and go to the grocery store and buy a coconut instead of going outside and getting something that is free that you can consume that's going to keep you healthy. So when we look at it from that aspect, as far as dealing with health, we got to move back into what we did as a people that was cultural based, that kept us healthy. Because when you're dealing with the standard American diet, you're dealing with the people that lived in a cold climate. So therefore, they didn't have access to vegetation the way that these people who lived in tropical climates had access to different types of fruits and vegetables. So they had to consume a lot of meat or animal products or products that comes from animals in order to sustain their life and try to live a healthy life in an environment that was pretty much hostile to them. So when it comes to the body, exercising is one thing that you can bring into play, but that's more cosmetic. It does help internally, but when it comes to keeping the organs and those systems functioning to where the body stays in what's called homeostasis, meaning it's neutral, it's not acidic, it's not too alkaline, it's basic, then that helps the body overall. So in order to keep the body where you want to keep it at, it's about nutrition. Consume the foods that are high in nutrition, and your body is not going to fail you.
So,
That was good.
I have a question though. So you've given us the overall picture on how to and all that stuff. Recommendations on people like most of us who have practiced improper diet for so long, or have even taught those negative habits and passed them down to our children. How do you recommend a way to ease into for children? You know, adults, we can say I'm going cold turkey and try really hard, but with children, how do you pivot your child out of the unhealthy ways that you've taught them into eating more? You said homeostasis, to get into a state of homeostasis. Is that right?
Okay. Yeah, homeostasis basically, you know, the body is, look at it from this point of view. I'll try to use this as an analogy. When someone comes down with arthritis like myself, usually like when the weather changes, especially when it's cold, you know, you hear people who have arthritis, they'll say, you know, I'm aching or I'm hurting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the reason why that's happening to them is because your body is out of alignment with Mother Nature. Meaning, as the seasons change, you go through changes. But if your body is in what is called homeostasis, where everything is in balance, then you're in balance with Mother Nature. So you have something that is called the barometer, which deals with the pressure in the air. So when that pressure changes in the atmosphere based on the seasons, then that also causes a change in your body, which is called inflammation, which causes the pain or problem in the body, or which can lead to a disease state. So when it comes to your children, as far as getting them to become more acclimated with what we're trying to push them into as far as homeostasis by way of a diet, you have to introduce those foods to them in a manner to where they don't know what that is. So for instance, if let's say I wanted to do a vegan lasagna and I wanted to make it gluten-free, don't tell them that it's a vegan lasagna. Prepare it, make it look like it's the same stuff that they've been eating. Let them eat it and sit back and watch their reaction. If their reaction is, oh, mama, this is good, it's tasty, blah, 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 then you hit them and be like, well, you know what you just ate was not based on what I usually cook. But if you tell them, well, we're just going to do some plant-based stuff, and this is what grown-ups, you know, they're going to frown up because they automatically think that it's not going to be good.
Yep.
And in some cases, some vegan meals are not good, but that's just like if you're eating a carnivorous diet. It depends on the person who's preparing the food. There's some things that are good, there's some things that are not good, but since we're dealing with the whole mental aspect of it, then you got to trick them into eating something that they think is not good that tastes good and is also good for the body. So that's just like with my daughter. We started her off as a vegan. And, you know, me and Mayetta we talked about this, you know, and I'm wrestling with this now. And when she goes with her mom's side of the family, you know, they want to sneak stuff into where now she likes candy, she's eating meat, and that's not the way that I wanted her to go, because my thing was I'm trying to break that cycle of dealing with diseases that are preventable diseases that we end up getting because we eat food because it tastes good, not because it's nutritionist for us or on a nutritional level to keep the body healthy. So when you're dealing with your kids, you basically want to trick them into eating this food, and then as they become acclimated to it, then you can begin to open up to them about, okay, well, this is the path that we're going down to try to keep you healthy.
So lovingly roll the children into.
So,
Yeah, pretty much.
I want to switch back to adulthood because you hit home when you talked about inflammation, Hakeem, because I currently was told I have inflammation in my neck, in my head. So my question to you is, what are some of the things that you've eaten or you transitioned to try to make sure you don't have inflammation? Because from my research, if your body is too acidic, what else? That's what causes you to be cyclical. But if you are whichever one of them words, you know what I'm talking about because you said it. If you're that, what do you do, or what is your suggestion to at least try to remove the inflammation from your body?
Okay, on a food level, what you want to start doing is stop eating foods that are high in acidity. And that's basically any meat that you eat, that's going to produce an acid state in your system.
Okay.
Another thing that you can do is when we're dealing with supplements, then you want to start dealing with that. When it comes to food, you're not going to get everything that you need as far as, you know, on a nutritional level from what you eat. That's why they tell you to eat a variety of things, because certain things may have this, but it may not have, you know, everything that you need in it. So you want to change your diet, number one. Number two, you want to start supplementing so that what you're not getting from your food base, you're going to get it from supplementation. But the ultimate thing, which to me trumps the two that I just said, go to your doctor and get blood work done. Once you get that blood work done, then you're going to get a copy of that. And I'm going to just basically give it to you the way that I did it. When I got sick 10 years ago, I had to go back into the things that I was taught when I was a kid. My father was a histopathologist. And so I used to sit in his lab and watch him work. When I got sick, I went back to that. And so one thing that I learned in my travels as far as dealing with this, when I go to the doctor, number one, I'm not going to be an idiot. When I go in there, I understand the language because I study the language. So I know what I'm dealing with when they're throwing out these terms. Number two, I'm going to get a printout of the blood work that they've done on me as far as my levels are concerned. So when you look at those levels, that gives you a blueprint as far as how you need to go about correcting the things that are going on in your body. Let's say if you have high blood pressure, then there are supplements that you can get that's going to target that. There are foods that you can eat that is going to target that. So that's the way that I went about doing it. And then on top of that, I went out and I bought a 5-subject notebook. And in each section, I will have a section for holistic practitioners or doctors or scientists that I follow that deal with the body aspect. Then I have another section that deals with vitamins and minerals, to where I'll look up, let's say like vitamin D. What is it? What does it do? How does it help with the body? And then I have a section for biology, which just deals with the total physiology of the human body. And then I have a section that is just a journal, which allows me to chart how I'm feeling, or if maybe one day I got sick, well, what was it? What caused it? That way I have a blueprint so that if it happens again, I can refer back to my notes, know exactly what it is, and know what I need to do to correct that aspect of my health. So those are the three things that you can do as far as minimizing your inflammatory responses as it pertains to your food. It's going to be changing your diet, supplementation, and then knowing as much as you need to know about what is going on in you internally. And that's going to be based off of, you going back to get the records as far as them checking your health and seeing what's going on with your body internally as it pertains to your blood.
Okay, so more or less eat right for your blood type, because my cousins used to joan me a lot because I'd be like, eat right for your blood type. But then that was a mashup of what you said about the different types, because my blood type is O, and if you're O blood type, you crave meat, beef, you crave wild game as well. So it's just a mix, and I guess we have to find a balance.
Okay, well let me piggyback on what you just said, because I hear that all the time where people are like, they crave meat. Okay, so let's look at it from this aspect. You say you crave meat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
Are you sure about that? Okay.
Not really, because I transitioned, and what I can't honestly say is when I took meat out of my diet for 30 days, and I was doing all fruits, vegetables, and only salmon. This what I've got dealing with right now didn't happen. But
Okay.
I also travel a lot for work. So, and I was cooking my own food. So I think I know where it came from. Now I just got to transition back. So go ahead, sir.
Okay, now I hear this all the time with people telling me that they crave meat or they like the taste of meat. And the reality of that is, one, you don't know what meat really tastes like because you season it. But when you season your food, you're not necessarily seasoning your food with meat. You're seasoning your food with plants. So when you eat that, when you smell that aroma, it's not the meat that you're smelling, and it's not the meat that you're tasting. You're tasting plants. And that aroma that you're smelling is based off of a plant. So you're not craving meat, you're craving that taste which comes from a plant. So in all actuality, you're craving plants. Another analogy that I like to use is, what is KFC famous for?
Chicken.
Spices. They sell spices.
What is it? 11 spices, 27 spices.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. They are famous for 11 herbs and spices, not chicken.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's rotisserie chicken. It doesn't matter if it's crunchy, crispy chicken. Whatever term you want to put on it, they're not famous for that. They're famous for 11 herbs and spices. Why? Because the smell and the taste. But what gives it that? It's a plant. So why not move the middleman out the way and just go straight to the source? When it deals with your blood type.
You preaching, I gotta pass the plate. Everybody got to go ahead.
But when you're dealing with everything that we're talking about, even on a mental level, everything is dealing with nutrition. For instance, when Mike was talking about the things that he was going through on a mental level, and when the sister was talking about the things that she was going through on a spiritual level, one thing that we haven't been taught is how vitamin D works in the body. We've been taught that vitamin D is a substance or a vitamin that we can take that keeps your bones healthy and keeps your bones strong. That is true to a certain aspect, but vitamin D is not even a vitamin, it's a hormone. And if you know anything about hormones, hormones are what are known as chemical messengers that secrete messages in the body that goes out to different systems of the body to tell those systems to either stay on or they get turned off depending on if your vitamin D levels are low. But they also deal with your mental aspect, your spiritual aspect, because all of these things are connected. But with Black people, we've been taught not to go out into the sunlight. So 9 times out of 10, if you're working, you spend 8, 9, 10, 12 hours inside of a building. When you get off, you're not trying to go outside and sunbathe. You're going home, you got to take care of family, you got to take care of kids, or you're probably getting ready to go to bed and get ready to do this thing all over again the next day. So your vitamin D levels begin to deplete to the point where all of these systems that vitamin D controls, because it controls about 2,000 different gene expressions within the human body. They get shut off. That deals with your mind. So if you have low vitamin D levels, you can get Alzheimer's, you can come down with dementia, you can get 3 forms of cancer, which is colorectal cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer. You can get multiple sclerosis. You can get what was the the nervous system disease that Michael J. Fox was dealing with?
Oh, Parkinson's.
Muhammad Ali had Parkinson's disease. But there's a whole host of things that comes from having low vitamin D level. And the reason why I brought that up is because scientists are now saying that the further you live away from the equator, the higher your chances are of having some type of mental disorder, heart disease, cancers. All of these things are based on just that one hormone alone, let alone all of the other things that we're dealing with as far as having deficiencies, as far as the other vitamins and minerals are concerned. So that's why I'm always advocating you got to go back to your roots. What are your roots? Our roots are based on the way our people used to live. And if some of y'all are like me, think about some of your ancestors, like your grandmothers or your great grandmothers or grandfathers. They didn't go to the doctor when they came down with illnesses. They went in the backyard and they dug stuff up. They cut stuff off of trees and they were healthier then. You didn't start getting sick until you started eating what was called the standard American diet and going to see these quack ass doctors that we go and see. When it comes to health, someone said earlier that you got a specialist for everything. You got people who specialize in so-called the heart or the lungs or the kidneys, and they don't know a damn thing. When it comes to science, you don't specialize in one particular thing. That's why you deal with holistic health. It deals with the mind. It deals with the spirit. It deals with the body. Why? Because whatever you do to your body is going to be based off of a mental and spiritual aspect. So if your body is fucked up, your brain, your mind, your spirit is messed up. Because the body does the bidding of the mind and the spirit. And then where we mess up at is, we think we know more than the body. The body is sending you signals, letting you know, I don't like what you put in me. So you might throw up. I got a pain here. You ignore it because it doesn't stop you from doing what you need to do. You can still go on with your daily activities. But your body is like, look, you need to pay attention to this. But you override that. So then it'll get to the point where your body's like, okay, fool, you don't want to listen to me. I know what I'm getting ready to do. I'm getting ready to expel you from this temple and then you die. So everything that we're dealing with has to go back to a cultural level, to the point where we got to go back and study that and then learn that and then apply it in our daily life.
Can I just ask about, you were talking about being a vegan. I have anemia, low. That when you eat meat, it is iron in your body. For somebody like me who doesn't always have
Oh, it's breaking up.
I think she's trying to ask about supplements or ways to get her iron through plants.
Or if she can be a vegan and be with low iron.
You can be a vegan and bring your iron up. Right now, my mind is like going at 1,000. it's on 10 right now. I'm trying to think of the things that you could consume to get your iron up. Right now, my mind is at a blank. Hopefully, it will come back to me before the show is over with.
But beets, brother, I can't wait and eating beets help with the iron. I know.
I can't remember, Mike. I can't remember. I'm not gonna say yes and I'm not gonna say no. Right now, my mind is completely blank.
Well, let me say this here, brother. Let me say this, brother. I can't. I was gonna eat some chicken today, but since you said it was the seasoning, I'm just gonna finish off this today. It's just gonna be my meal. Just gonna eat the seasoning today. I get my plant base in today. All right. Thank
I got you, bro. I got you.
Make sure I don't have too much salt in it, though.
It's so funny.
That's out.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
So, like we've talked about this, and I don't know if you feel comfortable actually saying what the illness was, but I think people knowing what it is and what you did to actually heal yourself would be very informative.
Okay, so 10 years ago, I didn't know exactly what I was dealing with. I started trying to self-diagnose myself because of the symptoms that I was having, and everything was pointing to multiple sclerosis. And during that particular time, I thought I was doing, everything that I needed to do to stay healthy. And it was a frightening time for me. Just like me sitting here now, my muscles would contract to the point where you can see my shirt move like this. That's just how bad it was. And when I finally got a diagnosis, I was diagnosed with having rheumatoid arthritis. And what I did to begin to cure myself or reverse certain things that I was dealing with, I changed my diet. I tried going vegan back in the 90s, but I didn't know exactly what I was doing. What I mean by that was, you're eating plants, but you're not just eating green leafy vegetables and things of that nature. You're eating green leafy vegetables. You're eating beans. You're eating grains, nuts. There are different things that you're going to consume to where the things that you thought that you would miss as far as dealing with a carnivorous diet, you're still going to be able to get them through a plant-based diet by eating these items. And I began to supplement. And so some of the supplements that I used, I got on a good multivitamin. And I would not suggest getting a multivitamin from Walgreens, Walmart, or CVS, any of those types of stores. You want to go to a Whole Food store and get your supplements, especially if you're dealing with a multivitamin. So I got a multivitamin. I got a omega-3 fatty acid in the form of algae. I also got a joint supplement that has glucosamine in it and chondroitin. I started supplementing with vitamin D3, and I also got a probiotic and a digestive enzyme. And those two things are more important than all of the other things that I stated, because one of the most overlooked organs in the body is the stomach or your gut. So in order for you to keep those systems healthy, your body has to break that down, and it has to be broken down into a manner to where the body can extract those things and then send those things out to those systems that are designed to keep you healthy. So once I started doing that, I started seeing changes in my body to the point where my vitamin D levels were back to normal, because my vitamin D levels went down to like 17 points, and that's dangerously low. Your vitamin D levels are supposed to be anywhere from 70 to 100 nanomoles. More preferably, probably about 70 or 80. And that's pretty much what I did. And I kept going to the gym. I kept working out. And slowly, it took me about 10 years, but I slowly got myself back on point. Right now, I'm working on trying to get my gut health under control, because that was one thing that I was dealing with, and I didn't quite know what it was. Every day that I would get up, I was sick. I felt sick. But like through the course of the day, around about 12 o'clock and after 12 o'clock, it was like I was normal, and I couldn't figure out what it was. But that was dealing with the weather. That was going back to what I was saying about, the inflammation and not being in alignment with nature. And as time went on, I got myself back on track.
That's good. So I wanted to jump in because Kim has been talking about so many really amazing ways to, just get in, just don't play double dutch, just jump in, start today, do something, just do something different today than you did yesterday. So I wanted to jump back to Kenyatta, because losing that 70 pounds, I know there were lots of milestones along the way. So did you feel more energy after 2 weeks? Did you feel your skin, showing better elasticity after a month? Did you feel your skin was popping, and like, tell me about the things that progressed along the way. A lot of people want to lose weight for cosmetic reasons, but when you're doing it without trying to fit into a swimsuit or something, I think you start to notice the other benefits too, instead of just looking at your waist size or what the scale says. What are the other things you saw?
For me, it was my skin. I was super happy. Like, I'm still dealing with some stuff because the old blemishes, what I did. But I was really happy, like with my face, like I don't have the breakouts. Of course, the clothes, like being able to shop anywhere I wanted to shop at now. So those are like some of the incentives for me. So I just felt better because for me it was like I finally accomplished something that I have struggled with my whole life. So it was just like a big accomplishment for me. And me just doing that kind of opened. I want to go back to what some of the things all of y'all was talking about with getting a therapist, talking to somebody, because we don't realize a lot of things. Like when I first talked to my spiritual person that I'm talking to right now, and I've been dealing with her for 2 weeks now. And the first thing she said to me was like, "You're dealing with some stuff like from your childhood." And me, I'm like, I'm not dealing with anything from my childhood. What are you talking about? And so by dealing with her and kind of thinking on it, I was like, wow, I really am dealing with some things from my past. And so it is really important to get a therapist because we don't realize how a lot of things that when we were kids, how that affect us as an adult and why we can't do some of the things that we want to do because we're holding on to this stuff. Yeah. And so for me, I like even just dealing with that, it just opened up so many doors. Oh wow, that's why I was the way I am because of this. But I try to like put those things to the back of my mind because a lot of people try to let that hinder them on doing stuff. They try to like, oh, I'm the way I'm like, I'm this way because of that. So I put that out of my mind, but not knowing that I needed to deal with those issues. And I'm still dealing with those issues. And that's what was stopping me, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah. There are a couple of new weight loss. You know, there's always a diet out there that somebody's There's an app, the Noom app, where they can talk about the psychology behind weight gain or weight issues. And the commercials have me cracking up because it's literally one guy's like, oh, I was taught to finish my plate as a child.
Yeah.
And instead of stopping when your body feels satisfied, most people in communities, brown communities, are taught to finish that plate. You don't waste any food around here. You know, people pay for this stuff. You're not going to waste this money.
Yeah.
You're going to eat everything on your plate, and you know, you get in trouble for not eating everything off of your plate. So we do have things that have chased us down into adulthood from our childhood.
Yeah.
My cousins on here know that my mother, you could not take a drink of water. You couldn't have Shay's laughing because she knows my mom would sit whatever the drink was in the middle of the table. You could not touch. She don't care if you were eating a thick biscuit from Popeyes that was going to choke you out. You could not have
hard times. It was hard times.
Yes, you could not have until you're done with the food, and it's like, oh. So as an adult, when I hear people say, "Oh, drink a glass of water first, and then you won't eat as much," I'm like, "No, I'm gonna get in trouble if I take it."
Yeah.
I'm 41 years old. I'm grown. I can do what I want to, but I'm still conditioned.
Right. I do that right now at 55. I promise you. I don't drink anything. And it's funny that you brought up drinking because Kenyatta and Hakim, my question to both of you, you talk about the change and the transition of diet, this and that, but neither one of you said anything about your water intake. And I know that we're 90% water.
Okay, Queen, you want to take that one or you want me to get it? Because I got two things I need to say.
Okay, so I do drink. Over the years of all the diets I've tried, that was one thing that I have stuck with drinking the water. But with this journey, I have had to do where I have to either drink my water first. You don't drink it at the same time as you eat. Either you're going to drink it first or you drink it after. So it's being mindful. Like all of this stuff is a lot because we're trying to untrain our mind for all the things that we have learned. So now it's just being conscious and mindful, like, okay, let me drink my water before, then I'll start eating. Or let me drink water after. So that's how I get my water in. But that is one of the things that have stuck with me to where if I'm going out to a restaurant, I'm drinking water. So I don't even really drink. Only real thing that I drink is alcohol. So I'm just being real. But I don't do that all the time. But mainly that is one of the things that has stuck with me is drinking water. So I don't
Okay.
have a problem with that.
No, I just thought it was real funny that nobody brought up water. You gave good.
Forgot.
I was like, are we missing something? Because we need that just to function regularly, for your organs to function regularly, and nobody said anything about it.
And for your scalp. For your scalp, I always ask my clients, I say, do you drink water? If they tell me no, I can tell because you see the flakes on that, you see the dry spots, you can tell that they're not drinking water.
Right.
Okay,
And to
brother,
piggyback on
what
that,
you got?
okay, to piggyback on that, first let me answer the question as far as the iron is concerned. One of the things that you can take that will keep your iron levels where they need to be or to increase your iron levels is moringa. And that's a herb that you can buy in a plant form, or you can get it in a powder form. They sell it at any, you can get it from GNC, Vitamin Shop, or you can get it from Walmart. So it's you have easy access to it. To deal with the water thing, when consuming water, what you want to do with that is you want to consume half of your body weight in water, but that's in ounces. So whatever amount that you weigh, you want to half that up. That's how many ounces of water you need to drink every day. And if you are an athlete, or if you're a person that is always on the go, you're always busy, you probably need to drink more water than that. But when it comes to water, you're correct. Water is something that you need to drink every day, but it's the amount of water that you need to consume. And that varies from individual to individual based off of your weight.
Right, because see, I was told, like you said, to cut however much you weigh in half and then add 32 ounces. And that's just for your organs to function normally. And if you're drinking anything that's not just water, like tea, soda, juice, or whatever, you need to drink 16 ounces just to flush it out. So,
okay, well, see, that's new to me. I've never heard of that. I'm gonna look into that.
okay.
Well, before we close out, first of all, I just want to thank everybody for being with us on a Sunday. I want to give a shout out to our beautiful Shay, as it's her birthday, so she's working on her
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
45, y'all. 45.
Yes, and before we close, I want all of our guests to just share your number one best practice that we'll pass along to our audience. So we'll start with Quay, then jump to Brother Mike, and then Hakim, and then Kenyatta. You can take us out with your one best practice that you'd like to pass along to our audience today.
For me, best practice is prayer, meditation. And I think from that place, you will address all of the issues, body, soul, and spirit through meditation and prayer. And I know that outside of the Christian culture, also the Hindi culture, Buddhism, they all believe in meditation. So definitely you want to get, become one with yourself. Get that quiet time and really get in tune with what your body's saying, what your soul's saying, and what your spirit's saying.
Yes, thank you, sister.
Thank you.
Brother Mike.
For me, study. And I watch a lot of comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Comedy. You gotta get comedy in.
That's right.
Talking about mental health. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
yeah,
with your
I do a
reading
lot of
though, is it a
studying.
particular type of reading? What type of literature?
Like I deal with the Book of God, the Truth of God, spiritual books. One of the books I'm into now is called The Four Agreements. And
That's good.
I've listened to it
That's
so many
good.
times. It's literally on my phone. I listen to it anytime I'm feeling like in a slump. I'll remind myself, put that on. And it's just a 2-hour audiobook. May even be less than that. Yeah, that's one of my favorite books.
Yes, and I also at night I play audiobooks or meditation music overnight. I don't watch TV after a certain time. I'm either studying, so when I lay down, I'm laying down with something productive on my mind. And I study something from the mental health field every day. And I'll go through some study.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Nice.
Hakim, share with us.
I'm pretty much along the lines as far as what Mike said. We study we're studying every day, all day. When I go to work, I take a book sack to work and it's filled with books. So since we're talking about health and that pretty much goes along with science, I'm gonna share some of the books with you guys as far as some of the things that I read. And just to add on to that, make that the focal point of what you do every day. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we talk about all of the things that we want to do on a daily basis or things that we want to do in the future. In order for you to do that, you got to have your health intact. You don't want to be bedridden. You don't want to be laying on a couch or on your bed and you're unable to achieve your goals. And the only way you're going to achieve your goals is based off of keeping your temple healthy. That comes before your man. That comes before your woman. That also comes before your children. Because in order for you to take care of any of them or any of the things you want to accomplish, you got to be able to do it physically. And if you neglect self, then all of the things that you want to accomplish, you're not going to be able to achieve those things in life as your life goes on. So one of the books that I read or that I'm reading now is this book right here. It's called Alkaline Herbal Medicine. Another book that I have is called Melanin, A Key to Freedom, which you can find this documentary on YouTube. And there's a scientist who was talking about how melanin is beyond just skin color or skin tone and all of the beautiful benefits that it offers us as Black people, because we have the highest melanin centers in the brain and throughout the body. And to take that even further, when Jack Kirby and Stan Lee did the X-Men, that whole show was based off of Black people. Mm-hmm. Professor X was Martin Luther King and Magneto was Malcolm X. But all of those powers that these people had, that was based on us. Mm-hmm. So to take that even further, you have another book by Harriet Washington called Medical Apartheid. Another book, which we talked about, The Healthy Gut, which is an organ that gets overlooked. That's another book that I'm reading. Then I have my biology book from college.
Wow.
And last but not least, you have anatomy, physiology, and disease. So immerse yourself into your health, because when you go to a doctor, you don't want to go to see someone and you just met this individual in 5 minutes, they know more about your body than you do. That's bad on your part. You're supposed to know more about your body than anyone. So that's what I will leave you all with, and with anyone who's watching this video. Know about yourself. When I met Brother Mike, they taught me that the ultimate goal was to know thyself. And as I've been taught, those were some of the things that they talked about in African culture, especially in Egypt. So that's the whole goal, is to know thyself. Yeah. Know yourself from a spiritual aspect, a mental aspect, and a physical aspect. And if you can master all three of those things, then you'll be good.
That's right. That's right.
That's good.
I'm gonna share a fun fact with you. I don't know where you live. You don't have to say it on this public podcast. However, if you're ever in Atlanta, in Little 5 Points, there's a mural of the X-Men tribute to Malcolm and Martin, where Martin is on one side and Malcolm's on another side. So they have one on the a huge one on the side of the building, and it's so dope. It literally is showing our Black leadership in those positions as superheroes. So, yep, that's fantastic. So, Kenyatta.
So I'm going to say the first thing I wrote, in Hakeem, he said it, is put yourself first. We have to put ourselves first. And that's like, as women, mothers, wives, all of that stuff. We always kind of put everybody else first, but you have to put yourself first. Like, that's what anything you do. And then another one is what I like to do is in the morning time, before as I'm getting dressed, I do my I am affirmations. So, go on YouTube, look up, it's called I am, do your affirmations, your meditation, all of that is so important. read books. So you just want to invest in yourself, like really invest in yourself. You control your destiny. You control, you know, the outcome of your life. So in order for you to get all of that back, you have to pour into yourself. And if you don't know what to do, if you don't like to read, just go on YouTube and start looking up audio books, start listening to things to help get your mind there. And it's going to help. I'm telling them, I am affirmations, those things changed my life. Like, it rid me of people that did not need to be in my life, friends that I thought they was going to be my friends forever, because I started doing those I am affirmations and I started putting myself first. Like, we were taught the wrong thing of being selfish. That's the wrong thing. No, be selfish. Put yourself first. So that's what I'm going to say. Put yourself first. Be selfish. It's okay.
I love that's a common theme between everybody. Quay, Michael, Hakim, and Kenyatta all said something along the lines of instilling or infusing into your mental. So meditation, centering yourself, literature, reading, the meditation music that Michael talked about. I do that too. The frequency music. YouTube has that are like 15-hour videos, 20-hour videos that you can
do that.
You go to bed, and those are really fantastic.
Yeah, I use those too.
Yeah. So because we support Black businesses on this podcast, Kenyatta, please tell us in your 30-second elevator pitch what your product is and where our audience can find you.
Okay. I am the Kenyatta Nicole, your healthy hair care specialist and CEO of Norris Hair Care Products. You can go online at theknstore.com. I do have a 30% off sale, which ends tonight, May the 1st. Use code 1YEAR for all your hair care needs, and the products they gear towards hair care moisture and hair growth. And the products are named after my mom, which is Nora.
Well, since our podcast, and that's beautiful. Since our podcast doesn't air tonight, can you create a special code for the Conversations and Opinions audience that maybe can run for a week that they can take advantage of it and you get some new?
Yeah, I can. I can't think off top, but we'll
drop it in the description box. We're grateful for that. Thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
Also, I think it'll be helpful if Hakeem would share the books, a link to the books, because you know everybody doesn't read. But
yeah, we can share all the links for all the books.
Yeah. Okay.
That's awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of you guys.
Thank
you. I must say, I do use Miss Kenyatta's hair care, and I love it. My hair is so shiny, and I love it. So,
yes, ma'am.
And my son is currently getting his hair washed with it.
Okay. Let me know. We need some reviews.
Bye.